Many people think that Custer's last stand was the largest American loss to Native American forces, but they're actually wrong. Years before, the American military was almost wiped out entirely. The defeat happened at the hands of Chief Little Turtle, or Michikinikwa. He was a soldier, a scholar, a diplomat, and sometimes a controversial figure. Today on Explorations List, we're going to examine his life in 6 different places that you can visit. Come along with us. Hi, I'm Rodney.
And I'm Jade.
And this is our
Explorations List.
Little Turtle was a well-known leader of the Myaamia peoples who resided in the areas which are now Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. Well, I guess Headwaters Park is cordoned off here, so I can't get close to the statue. That's too bad. It is a good-looking statue, though. He was a pivotal figure in American history, but he often doesn't get the recognition he deserves. We're just outside of Columbia City on Old Trail Road, and this is the site, or near the site, of Little Turtle's village. Now, this is where he was born, and he started his life in 1747. And he basically lived most of his life in this general area. Right now, it's farmland, and there is a small mobile home community over here. It's also, interestingly, called Myaamia Village. And if you can imagine, Little Turtle may have spent his early years in a home similar to this. On this site, also along Old Trail Road, is where Colonel Augustin de la Balme was defeated by Chief Little Turtle and his forces. In November 1780, Augustin de la Balme, who was a French colonel, came out here to destroy British and Native American stores in this area. Chief Little Turtle defeated these forces with a coalition of Native Americans. This was one of his early famous victories, and this elevated him to the status of being a great warrior and a military tactician. I'm currently in Lakeside Park, and where you now see children playing, people having fun outdoors, you may have seen that a little more than 200 years ago as well. Because this was part of the village known as Kekionga, which was a major Native American village. Now, the Three Rivers provided this with a lot of trade, as well as being a key strategic point. And this was one of the major cities of the Myaamia world. Why do I pick such hot days to film this? Near this spot, in October 1790, the United States Army fought its first battle after the War of Independence. This spot is in a quiet neighborhood, now known as Lakeside. This was the Battle of Kekionga, where General Harmer's forces, instructed by President Washington himself, attempted to cross the river here. But Chief Little Turtle's forces were waiting. They were able to push back the American assault and send them back to Fort Washington, which was in present-day Cincinnati.
Chief Little Turtle had more victories that followed, including the Battle of the Wabash in 1791, otherwise known as St. Clair's defeat, and of 1,400 U.S. soldiers, 918 were killed and 276 were wounded. This was between a quarter and a half of the entire U.S. Army at the time.
But as we all know, the tide of battle eventually turned. American forces came into the area more strongly and built forts, like this one at the confluence of the three rivers. Seeing these walls, Chief Little Turtle had to make a decision, and he chose peace, or at least fighting from the inside of the American establishment rather than the outside. He continued to advocate for his people, but he became more of a diplomat, traveling to Philadelphia and Washington, D.C., and meeting with many important people, including President Washington himself. I came to film this today. Not only is Headwaters Park closed around the Little Turtle statue, but they're doing renovations to the old fort. So it doesn't look much like it normally does. There are actually some whole sections that are missing. It'll be cool when it's done though. Check out the new wood.
Following the Native American defeat at the Battle of Fallen Timbers in 1794, the Treaty of Greenville in 1795 ended hostilities between the U.S. military and the Native Americans. Upon signing the document, Little Turtle said, "I have been the last to sign this treaty, and I will be the last to break it." Little Turtle lived out the rest of his life in a cabin built by the U.S. government in honor of his service and sacrifice. The cabin was not far from the village where he had grown up, and even when the U.S. government destroyed many of the surrounding Miami villages, they left his cabin untouched.
In 1812, Little Turtle's life ended. He died of gout, which was actually known at the time as a rich man's disease, and shows how much his lifestyle had changed. He ended up here, which is now in a neighborhood called Lawton Park, and his grave was somewhere in this area. When they found him, they were actually digging the basement of one of the houses here in this neighborhood. So his grave had actually been lost to time until 1911, when they were digging this basement. When they found his grave, he had a sword that had been given to him by George Washington. He also had a medal with the president's face on it, and some silver armbands and other things, indicating his status and his wealth. And he was buried with full military honors. So he was given the respect. Now this park commemorates him, his life, and where he was buried.
Yeah, this site, okay, these are sometimes hard to read. This site honors the great chief of the Myaamia, Michikinikwa, the Little Turtle, son of Chief Aquinaqua? That's a pretty name. He is held in the hearts of his people, allies and foes, with the highest honor and respect for his courage, valor, and peacemaking. And it's very pretty. It is in the middle of two houses in a neighborhood. Well, now it is, I should say. It is quite peaceful.
It is. It probably needs to be a little bit better maintained. I think it deserves a little bit more respect. But it's a nice little park here.
It is. It's pretty.